नमस्ते इंडिया। मैं डॉक्टर परमिता मिश्रा, डायरेक्टर पब्लिक रिलेशंस IUEF, आप सभी का IUEF की पूरी टीम, चेयरमैन डॉक्टर चयन चौधरी, ऑनररी सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर सुजीत कुमार जाना, डायरेक्टर कॉर्पोरेट अफेयर्स श्रीमती अमिता पंडित भट्ट, हेड IT एंड ट्रेनिंग साइबर सिक्योरिटी एक्सपर्ट श्री चेतन माहे, वाइस चेयरमैन श्रीमती बानी गोत्रा, नेशनल एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर एंड करियर काउंसलर श्री अभिजीत बैनर्जी, नेशनल सेक्रेटरी श्री दलजीत राणा, जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी नेशनल श्रीमती अगम बजाज, प्रेसिडेंट तेलंगाना चैप्टर श्रीमती सुनील नागी, प्रेसिडेंट कानपुर चैप्टर श्रीमती पूजा सहगल, प्रेसिडेंट वाराणसी चैप्टर डॉक्टर शाले तिवारी, सभी की तरफ से आपको इस मंच पे स्वागत करती हूँ। I also extend a hearty welcome to our guest today, retired IS, former Secretary, School Education, MHRD, Government of India, Shri Anil Swarup ji. Welcome, sir. Welcome to this IUEF platform.
Namaskar, sir.
International United Educational Fraternity, IUEF, is an organization promoted by a registered trust, Marg Darshak Education and Research Institute Trust Merit, which is based at Kolkata. It's a unique platform for school leaders, principals, vice principals, headmasters, headmistresses, and teachers all over the world. The four pillars of IUEF are right to education of orphanage and underprivileged children, support to old age home, gifted children, women upliftment and equal rights. And today, we are very happy to announce that recently IUEF has extended social responsibility in collaboration with an NGO named Roshni Foundation that works for the holistic development of the underprivileged tribal children of Jilla Parishad schools in the interiors of Dahanu Taluka, Maharashtra, under the able guidance of Srimati Geeta Muchala, Managing Trustee, Roshni Foundation. Till date, they have adopted 16 Jilla Parishad schools with 2,000 children. Team IUEF has been very instrumental in offering various programs to the Jilla Parishad teachers in the aspects of yoga, storytelling, art and craft, English, calligraphy, and motivation so that they can in turn mentor these children. This new venture of IUEF has been quite enterprising. Life has been known to be a challenge, and the past few months have been indeed really very challenging. The COVID-19 pandemic, along with the lockdown status, has suddenly thrown all our lives out of gear. Habituated to luxurious lifestyle, mankind has suddenly been compelled to differentiate between luxury and necessity. At this hour of crisis, what we actually need for survival is food, and definitely farmers are the most valued people around. Therefore, on the eve of World Environment Day, 5th June, IUEF proposes to initiate a campaign of grow your own food in all the schools. We request all the principals, heads, teachers who are assembled here to take up this campaign and encourage their teachers and students to grow at least one vegetable and one medicinal plant in their homes, either in their garden or terrace. Few schools under the guidance of IUEF have already initiated this as a pilot project and have come up with stupendous results. So getting back to challenges, today's topic, academic challenges, and all the challenges faced by the teachers and students in this lockdown period of COVID-19. So now I request our Honorable Chairman, Dr. Jayan Chaudhary, to please welcome the guest and take over.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Thank you, Paramita ma'am.
Thank you.
Namaskar to all. A heartfelt welcome to everyone assembled here for this wonderful session. My warm, cordial welcome to our guest and speaker, Shri Anil Swarup, retired IAS and former Secretary, School Education, MHRD, Government of India. Anil Swarup is a man of excellence in education and has immensely contributed in our education sector. I am extremely privileged to have its benign presence on our IUF platform today, as I would proudly like to state that it was Sri Anil Sarupji only who bestowed me with the honorary doctorate degree in 2018 in Delhi. My relationship with him is monumental in every way. And today I welcome him once again with pride and gratitude and regards for gracing this IUF platform. Welcome, sir. Everyone is now eagerly waiting for to listen to you. We are well aware of the difficulties that have posed as a challenge for us in the field of education. Kindly enlighten us with your profound knowledge and wisdom. Sir,
Thank you very much. Good evening to all of you. What a pleasure it is to be amidst you all. I'm so glad that you've got all the teachers and principals on a one platform where issues that are common to them can be discussed. I have always believed that solutions to any problem, they are available. It's a question of being on the lookout. One amongst you or two amongst you or many amongst you would be able to solve some of the problems. Through these platforms, such issues could be shared with others and they could benefit from the work that is done in one school or the other school. So I'm so glad you have this platform. And I was also it was very heartening to learn that your foundation has taken over certain Zilla Parishad schools, and if I heard it correctly, in Maharashtra. I think I have always favored public-private partnership. When I was Secretary School Education for about 2 years, that is precisely what I was trying to promote, because I was of the view that neither the government alone nor the private alone can solve the complex problems relating to education, and the two have to come together. And the taking over of school or managing the schools, government schools, by entities like yours or some other NGOs is a remarkable step in that direction, where the infrastructure that has been created by government over the years is being utilized. And I'm aware of a number of such organizations like Muktangan who have actually have had an arrangement with municipal corporations and Zilla Parishads to run the schools. And I've seen how improved those schools are. So compliments to you for having done that. But today, we are not discussing education or school education in general. We are faced with a particular crisis, and we are trying to discuss as to what can be done. In the past few weeks, I've been having virtually a daily discussion with groups like yours. And I must confess that I do not have all the knowledge about it. It's while interacting with you all or people like you that I also get to know what is actually happening on the ground. So as I look at the entire problem, I look at it this way. I would like to segment the entire system into two parts. One is those set of schools that have access to internet and that have access to smartphones. And the second one is such students as do not have access to internet and smartphones. The strategy for them, the two other segments will have to be different. Of course, both of these segments have similar set of stakeholders, meaning thereby there will be state government, there will be school management, there will be teachers, there will be students. So stakeholders will remain the same, but these segments have to be different, because you can't employ the same strategy during the COVID times to such children as do not have access to internet. So I will first touch upon such students as do not have access to internet. About a week ago, we organized a webinar on the platform of Nexus of Good. I will just take a minute to explain what this Nexus of Good is all about. When I was Secretary Education, I traveled through the country. I visited about 24 states in the country in the first 3 months. And while traveling through the country, I discovered some wonderful work being done in the field. Lovely work. In fact, the first two districts that I visited were Bastar and Sukma. I drove from Pune to Goa and dropped down on the way to look at the schools. I traveled from Srinagar to Leh, not taking the national highway, going deep inside the mountain to understand the good work that is happening. When I discovered this, we picked up about 110 models, and we called all these people over to Delhi, asked them to make a presentation. Out of these 110 models, we picked up 24 models and took them back to the states. Now, why am I explaining to you all this? The idea of Nexus Good is that against the general negativity that prevails in the society, there is a lot of positive good work that is happening. Unfortunately, we don't seem to identify, understand, appreciate, replicate, and scale this good work. What I heard from you all, I'm sure a lot of good work is being done by your schools. schools that you have adopted. But that doesn't get to be discussed, because point is, we are so fond of masala, we are so fond of negativity, that the media also dishes out nagar. So if you look at the television, you will feel so disturbed that everything seems to be going wrong. Whereas a lot of good work that is happening. I can guarantee all of you can sit down and share the good practices, others will benefit. That's what Nexus of Good is all about. So Nexus of Good is a platform that we created first on the Twitter, where we have the Twitter handle @ Nexus of Good. The other is a web portal where every day 2-3 fantastic stories, replicable stories are put on the portal. And the portal is www.nexusofgood.org.in. I will request Dr. Jain to circulate it to all the principals, so that not only they can benefit from all that is already there, there are hundreds of good stories there, they will be able to share their own good stories. So the bottom line is, I have believed that this needs to be shared. These stories need to be told, and hence I will request all of you to join that. Now, coming back to the fundamental topic that we're discussing, on this Nexus of Good platform, we had a 2-hour-long discussion on what and how can we reach out to children that do not have access to internet or smartphone. And fortunately, the current Secretary, School Education, Government of India also spoke. The current Secretary, Ministry of Child and Child Welfare also spoke. And there were experts. Apart from experts, basically there were people who actually changed things on the ground for such children as do not have access to. So large number of children do not have access to internet. So what they said was, how about using radio transmission more innovatively? And if you go to our web portal, the Nexus of Good, you'll find a number of experiments that have actually worked on the ground. So in case you all interact with children who do not have access, those presentations that were made, which are there on the portal, would be useful to you. So my suggestion to you would be, have a look at that. So one is radio, because access of radio is much more than internet. You go to any part of the country, there's radio available. So you can actually reach out to them. The second access was through television. In fact, television access is also much more than internet access. So you find televisions and outreach of, there are a number of scheduled programs that are available, and you can use that. Now, what I'm trying to say here is, it is not a replacement for regular school. Mind you, don't mistake me, because it can always be argued that it should be regular school. Yes, it should be. But in the present circumstances, you cannot call the child to school and ask them to congregate at a place. So that not being the case, you have to look at alternative. The third alternative that came was in such places where you do not have internet, but children live close by in a village. There are a number of places where the village is small. So what can happen, actually teacher can go to those children for some time, hand over certain papers, documents, and this can be done on a periodic basis. So some excellent ideas emerged for such children as do not have access to smartphones. Of course, there is other segment that has access. Now, this poses a number of issues. You have to think innovative. The first challenge is how to get the child hooked onto the mobile or a laptop. I don't think that's a major problem, because today I have grandchildren who are actually hooked on to telephone. It's a different matter that what they are watching on telephone is not what we would want to watch them. They're not getting educated on the telephone. They're looking at something else on the telephone. So the challenge before teachers and experts is to come up with such production so that the children get attracted to getting educated rather than looking at something else. Now that's a challenge. I'm not an expert. I'm a great believer that technology is a great game changer. I recall my own student days. I was fortunate to have very nice teachers, very fine teachers, very competent teachers, but there were indeed a couple of them. We found it very difficult to sit through their class. I mean, more often than not, we were thinking of something else or waiting for the class to get over so that we could get to the play field. Now, technology can actually help them. And I discovered it myself when I was education secretary. Someone showed a video on Archimedes' principle. And within 3 minutes, I understood the principle and very nicely, which I struggled as a student. Because today, technology makes the delivery of education very interesting and enjoyable. Now, education can now become a very enjoyable experience. And in a way, COVID provides that opportunity for us to indulge to a greater extent in terms of creating that material which becomes enjoyable. Now, again, there is some people who gone to the other extreme of saying, how about eliminating the teacher and switching over to technology? I am not in favor of that, because the human essence has to be there. It's only during these times when teachers cannot actually engage with the children directly or physically that we talk in terms of technology. But this technology can actually be used even when there are no COVID times. So this is an opportunity for us, though a threat by COVID, but an opportunity for us to come up with such programs and productions as they're useful. Now, I'd like to inform all of you that there is a platform called Diksha. I don't know how many of you have seen it. This was set up during my time when I was education secretary, and I am glad that it has evolved as a very mature platform. Now, what does it do? It houses a lot of programs and material which the teachers can use. Now, the problem today is not the availability of material. The problem is that there is so much material available that it is difficult to go to a particular video which I want to see. So if you want to see, look at refraction, and you type refraction on Google or YouTube, you'll get tens of videos. Now, how do you know which one is the best? That's where Diksha helps you, provides you a navigation tool where you can actually determine which of the videos is the best to be exposed to the child, both from the term of understanding of the concept as well as the receptivity of the child. Now, both are very important. One is the concept, its presentation is important. Second is whether it is attractively packaged for the child to accept it. Because normally in a marketplace, when you produce a product, you look at the consumer and then you design your product accordingly, you design your packaging. Both in government and in education, we don't do that. You know, we think of an idea, we try and produce it in whichever manner, not taking into account the limitations or the attractions of a child. If we are unable to do that, then we'll produce something and it will not be seen. So it gives, today, this COVID gives you huge opportunity to look at such areas where technology can be used. So the first challenge is to getting the child hooked onto it. The second challenge is to produce that quality. And third, let us now go further. What these schools are doing, and some of you, if you're not doing, you can do it, fix a time. I'm now discussing only such areas where internet is available. Fix a time, 1 hour, 2 hours, and treat it as a class. Get the children onto that class because they will be there. And you can teach them. Of course, the methodology will undergo a bit of a change. It's not a classroom, but you have to learn on how to communicate with a child which is not physically sitting with you. So you can't teach in a manner as if you're reading news. You have to communicate in a manner as if you're talking to them. They're right in front of you talking to them. So it's not that you sit around and pick up a paper and start reading it. As we remember during the time of Doordarshan, they used to have something written before them and read it out. No, you can't do that. You must do it as if you're just discussing it. They're right in front of you discussing. And if possible, make it interactive so that those children can ask questions of you. Now, it will all depend on the bandwidth. If the bandwidth available, you can go video. If bandwidth is not available, you can go audio. You know, the limitations of the vehicle will have to be seen. But my understanding is where there is bandwidth, I know that it cannot replace a physical class, but it can come very close to it. In fact, you can make it very, very attractive. So you have to conduct in that manner. Now, as COVID relaxes, as it is relaxing, there are schools which have come up with very innovative ways of getting the children over. Now, I'll give you some examples. I'm not saying you do that. I'm just sharing with you what is, I'm not an expert at it. This is what I got from the schools. As I said, I'm interacting with people like you every day, and they come up with very good ideas. Now, one school, what they are trying to do is, they are planning to get half the children on alternative days. So the children don't come to the school throughout the 6 days. They come on alternate days. So they are able to divide the class into half, and so they can maintain that social distancing. That's what they're planning. So they can do that. I'm not saying you do that. The other is, some schools say, we won't call them all the day. It's only for physical activity that we call them to the school, maintain social distancing. All the teaching will be done this way. I'm not saying which of the one is better. You have to take a call. But what the Nexus of Good is doing is trying to put such practices on a single platform so that you can go and see and you can learn from that. So very innovative ways are coming. As I said earlier, COVID is a time that will help us solve a number of other problems which we are unable to solve. For example, there was always this clamor to reduce the burden on the child, the physical burden of the bag. Bags were growing and becoming weightier, and children were finding it difficult. Now, COVID is the time when actually you can reduce the size of the bag. How can you do it? You can actually digitize a lot of work. Again, I am limiting myself to places where digital activity is possible. So, for example, I saw it about 4 years ago in Tamil Nadu, and now it's of course spreading elsewhere. You can actually have technology replace a lot of material in the book, and you can put it there as an electronic symbol, which can be read on a video that can be read through a telephone. And that symbol, at the back end, you can keep changing the material. So technology enables you to actually reduce the size of the bag, which we've been talking about, we've been unable to do. Now, I can go on and on variety of ways in which technology can be used for reducing the burden of the child, for making education a much more enjoyable feature. To me, that is very, very critical, because today the child has so many distractions, so many more distractions than the ones that we have. There's so many distractions available to him that if we are unable to make learning an enjoyable experience, he will go for something else. So what we have to do, make use of this COVID crisis, which is an opportunity for us to make education interesting. I would rather have more of questions from you, but before I conclude, I'd like to say just a couple of more things. I think more important than imparting learning and education is to engage with the child. Now, that's very, very important. What is happening is people like you and me have somehow, we find, engage ourselves somewhere. But look at the child. In the four walls of his house, they are going crazy. So how do you engage with them? It's not necessary that you engage with them by teaching. Now, how about teacher working out a schedule and speaking to the child on a phone? And this can happen in places where there's no internet. Just have a chat with him for about 2-3 minutes every alternate day, or once in 3 days, or once in 4 days, asking how he is, what he's doing. Now, engagement to my mind is extremely, extremely important, because the child is under emotional stress. Enormous amount of, as are parents. I'm not saying parents are not under emotional stress. They are under financial stress, they are under physical stress, they are under emotional stress. So that emotional stress is a very, very, very important aspect that needs to be taken care of. And that can be done through an engagement, through interaction with them. My suggestion to all of you, principals, teachers, is please engage. Engage amongst yourself. This technology is available for you to engage amongst yourself, learn from each other, because, isolation can be killing. And this child, and I know of many children who are finding it very difficult to pass time, so to say. Of course, as I said, today there are distractions available, but still, having stuck at one place and not being able to go out is difficult for adults. Imagine the plight of a child who believes in going out. He should be going out, but he's unable to go out. Now, I can carry on for a much longer time, but I have never believed in a monologue. I would stop here for the time being. What I would suggest is I will take your questions and then carry on later on if you don't have questions. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Open for questions and observations.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the speech. Sir, actually, there were around about 550 questions and above, sir. It was not easy for our team IF to accumulate and bring into 17 to 18 questions.
Sir,
Thanks to Paramita ma'am.
Yeah, Jain sir, 1 minute. I think we'll have the book launching. We have sir's book.
Yeah, yes.
Please have
Thank you, sir, ma'am.
So I guess we would have this. Please.
And it's really privilege for us that Anil sir is launching his book, that is Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant. Sir, please.
Let me inform the audience, the book is yet to be launched. It's gone for print right now. And through Dr. Jayant, I'll invite all of you for the launch, which is a web launch on the 5th of July. Please note down the date, block that date. It will be a launch on 5th of July. Later in the evening, I will inform Dr. Jayant and request him to convey to all of you. This book would be formally launched on the 5th of July. And it's Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant. I have been a civil servant myself for 38 years. It raises certain questions about these dilemmas. And there's an attempt to answer these questions through personal experience. So may I request all of you to join me in this webinar on the 5th of July. I'll convey to you the time also. Thank you very much for showing it here.
A little briefing about the book. What is ethics? How important is ethics in the context of governance? What are the challenges that hinders an officer's pursuit of ethical conduct? Does it pay to remain ethical while the unethical seemingly rules the roost? Is it worth paying the price to be ethical? These questions are but refrains of the thought process of every civil servant, new and seasoned. These questions obfuscate his judgment and also affect his productivity. For some unlucky few, these questions may even bring forth a lifetime of torment. What makes matters worse is the absence of any well defined, legally tenable, and universally acceptable model code of conduct for officers that defines ethics. Coupled with political vendetta, this spells the perfect recipe for disaster for them. This book is an attempt to contextualize a semblance of a framework that will help civil servants make a learned decision in the face of the aforementioned questions. It is an aid to help them find their moral compass. Thank you, sir. We will definitely be looking forward to this launching of the book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant. Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Over to Jay.
Congratulations again, sir.
Thank you.
And really, it's a privilege and honor for IEF to launch this, which actually will be in 5th July. But the book has been, Anil Sarup sir has given the honor that we are launching this book here, at least in virtually.
You are the first. You are the first organization to do it. In fact, it has not been launched virtually anywhere. But I'm glad you've done it.
Thank you, sir. And thank you again to Paramita ma'am and Team IEF, who have possibly done a big effort that they have curtailed the 550 questions down to 18 questions. And sir, just point by point, I will be asking some questions which has been actually given by the remote or areas of some of the principals in Pan India in 22 states. Actually, IF is now in 22 states, and 70% of our members are from the remote areas of Odisha, West Bengal, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, that is Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra, many of them. So I would like to start with one of the questions, that is, will online teaching replace classroom teaching in the future? What is the future plan and how are we preparing for it?
First of all, I am convinced that online teaching will not replace teachers, because I think the human essence and the teacher that imparts that human essence will not go. That's my wish, and I'm quite convinced it won't happen that way. So online teaching or technology will continue to act as a facilitator and enabler and make life easy for the teacher as well as for children, but certainly not replace it, because the human essence, after all, we are human beings, no? So we require that human touch. And that is where the teacher will continue to play a role. So I'm sure that teacher will not be replaced. Of course, technology will enable better delivery of education, more enjoyable delivery of education. That's what
Next question is, the biggest problem in virtual classroom session is that it has practical difficulties in being interactive and how to resolve it.
ठीक है ठीक है चलो पेंसिल वगैरह पाओ अपनी
Please, I request everyone to please mute.
Paramita ma'am, take care that.
Yeah,
there's
please,
lot of
I
disturbance.
request everybody to mute themselves. I request everyone to please mute themselves so that we can have a smooth session.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir.
Sir, should I repeat this, sir?
please do, because
The biggest problem in virtual classroom session is that it has practical difficulties in being interactive. How to resolve it?
As I said earlier, that is the reason why virtual classrooms will not replace the teacher. There are practical problems, they are of a different nature. Let's look at the problems that are there. Now, number one is connectivity problem. Now, you require appropriate bandwidth for a virtual class to happen. That bandwidth is a problem in interior areas. You mentioned that most of the people that you interact with are in the interior areas. So we may technically have internet connectivity, but the bandwidth is not available for video interactivity. And it can be devastating. Just now we heard a lot of noise coming from behind somewhere. Now, this can be multiplied enormously if it is not appropriately. Second is, the material that conveys or that gets conveyed to the student has to be very carefully chosen, because what he sees, he believes. When teacher is teaching on his own, or he or she is teaching on her own, they are careful about the sensitivities of a child. But if you're running a video and you've not seen it properly, it can create a different impact altogether on the child. So you have to be very careful. There are many issues. Given a choice, but for COVID, I would never advocate that, teachers should not be teaching and it should go to internet. My hope is that after COVID gets over, teachers would have understood, because, teachers also have to understand the technology part. COVID has pushed them into understanding technology and making the best use of technology. So I look at it as an opportunity, because when I used to interact with teachers, many of them were very reluctant to use technology. They said, "Sir, hum kahan technology," and they used to be defensive about it. No, technology has its use. So gradually, every teacher is going to get onto technology. So there are bound to be problems in only technology. But if we have a combination of teachers and technology, that's the best approach. That's how it's going to evolve.
Next question goes like this. Most teachers are not technically sound and are facing difficulties handling technology without any professional training. This can be very demotivating, as they may be effective teachers in classroom but are unable to deliver up to their level of satisfaction. What would you suggest for them?
In the previous answer, I had alluded to this, that there are many teachers who are not at tech savvy. Ab majburi ka naam Mahatma Gandhi. Now they have no option but to learn. Now, how do you go about doing it? The best way is, I see it happening in a number of schools. Every school have some teachers who are tech savvy and others who are not. The objective now should be to get those tech savvy teachers to train the other teachers. Now assume that there is not even a single tech savvy teacher in the school. Then of course they will have to get somebody from outside. But I don't think that is a matter. In almost every school, you have one or two teachers who know what they are. Secondly, there is a bit of an advantage. Because of this mobile culture, because of the smartphone that has come up, adopting to this technology will not be very difficult. I've seen it. I've seen people who said that they wouldn't adopt technology. I asked them, भाई mobile phone तक दिखाइए अपना, उन्होंने दिखाया. अरे जरा WhatsApp पे मैसेज लिखिए, उन्होंने लिख दी. मैंने कहा आप तो बहुत savvy हैं भाई, आप WhatsApp पे मैसेज लिख रहे हैं. आप ये कर सकते हैं, एक बार आप उससे डर नहीं है आपका, तो आप आगे भी कर लेंगे. So I think the initial steps have already been taken inadvertently. We didn't decide it through the smartphone, which most of the people, I've seen a rickshawala doing it. Almost everyone is tech savvy, so to say, in terms of use of mobile phone. Now, that needs to be tweaked a bit for it to understand, use a laptop or use even mobile phone for teaching purpose. So I don't think the job is that difficult. It is a question of working out the details and seeing that these teachers are engaged, and then they are given some classes for them to do it. So it's not that difficult a job, even for old people. My mother-in-law, who's now 75 plus, uses her phone and technology pretty well. And when this COVID happened, before that happened, she was very wary of it. She wouldn't touch it. She would say, "Kya hai?" But now she does it very well. So anyone, it's just an initial hitch. And let me tell you very frankly, how many of us are experts in technology? I am not. I could barely operate my laptop at some point in time, but government credits me with the civil servant use the technology the most. When you read this book, you'll discover how much technology that I use. I didn't know technology. So you don't have to necessarily know technology to use technology. Knowing technology is a different thing. Using is different. It is like refrigerator. We don't know the technology behind refrigerator, but we use the refrigerator, no? Every housewife uses it. She doesn't have to know the technology. She should know the use of it. And once a person understands the value or the benefit accruing out of technology, they will learn it. Everyone.
Thank you, sir. Next question, though half of the answers you have already given, but then I'm reading the question, there are a lot of network related issues like limited data packs, disruption in connectivity and other technical glitches. Students lose interest and usually get demotivated. How to handle such situations?
Each school will have to do a bit of research on which platform to use. So for example, there are so many misconceptions about Zoom. People say it's insecure. Yaar, padhane mein kya insecurity hai? What is insecure about it? I mean, if someone wants to take that data, let them take that data. How does it affect you? I mean, we have become obsessed with security without understanding the implications of it. I can understand if there is sensitive data, personal sensitive data, health related data, security related data. I can understand that. But while teaching, what is the sensitivity? So, and there is also a misconception that Zoom is a Chinese brand. It's not. So let's not go into all this. And if required, today, if you go to internet and you type that, you'll get all the details about a particular platform. You can take your call. You don't have to go to somebody else. So I don't think we should be unnecessarily apprehensive about it. Take a call. There is a Cisco platform. There are many platforms. There's Google Meet platform. There are many platforms that you can use. But I don't think in terms of educating children, there is any sensitivity behind data security. I don't think.
So very well answered, sir, because this is one thing that is troubling most of the schools. In our platform, I can say 95% of this are getting trouble because of the Zoom issue. Parents are just objective to any kind, others are rumors, and we are also facing the same thing. So thank you for this answer. And related to that only, another question, sir. Yes, sir.
Has anybody, there's about 100 of us sitting here, has anybody faced any security problem actually, or they're imagining it?
Exactly, sir. Yes,
someone can come and tell me that this is what we face, then I'll tell them what is the problem. I can understand for want of connectivity, it is not coming through. There could be other problems. But what is the security problem for teaching children? I don't see any security problem.
Same thing, sir. The question, our number one question was that we are all aware that online teaching is the need of the hour. Which platform is the most suitable for online teaching? As we are all aware that most schools are using Zoom and it is user friendly, but recent news breaks regarding its safety and created uproar. And many parents are not willing to use Zoom. What is the solution in this case? In the absence of advanced hardware and high-speed data, how can we effective online teaching all over the country, including remote areas?
See, first of all, I am not an expert to determine which platform is the best. I am not an expert. You'll have to consult an expert. All I'm saying is, don't go to a platform with a prejudice. वो किसी ने कह दिया कान में कहीं सुन लिया किसी ने बता दिया किसी ने किसी से कह दिया आप चल पड़े उस रास्ते में. It doesn't work that way. And you must look at, see, government may feel sensitive about certain data because of security concern. Then some platform may not be good or right. But in teaching, what is the sensitivity? I want to understand. I've also read it somewhere. I have not been able to understand what exactly is the sensitivity. What is wrong with it? People do talk about it. They talk about Zoom. I'm again not advocating Zoom. What I'm saying is, take a video film that you like. You run into problems, switch over to another platform. Who stops you from doing that? But without doing that, we still keep blaming this is right, this is wrong. One thing which I should have told earlier, let me explain to this. I think during COVID times, it is also important to engage with parents and educate them also. Pardon my using this phrase. Today, the problem in school education is not as much teachers or children, it's the parents. Pardon my using that. They become so obsessive about their child. Every parent is so indulgent. They should be indulgent, but it's an excess of that. So we have to educate them that it is the job of the teacher to teach. If every parent tries to determine how his child to be taught, then he better be kept home and not sent to the school. Of course, you can't use that language, but engagement with parents in convincing them. For example, you said about the security problems regarding a platform. I ask the parent, what is the problem? Let them explain what is the problem. They will say, nahi, wahan suna tha humne. Unfortunately, we live by hearsay. किसी दूसरे ने कह दिया हमने कहा अरे भाई कोई स्पेसिफिक प्रॉब्लम हो तो उसका समाधान मिल जाएगा. अगर स्पेसिफिक प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है तो आप सिर्फ जनरल कह रहे हैं तो इट्स लाइक सेइंग देश में बड़ा करप्शन है, उसे दूर करें. तो आप सुबह शाम तक आप डिबेट करते रहेंगे. जब तक स्पेसिफिकली एरिया नहीं पता लगेगा क्या हो रहा है तो कोई सोल्यूशन थोड़ी ना निकलेगा. सो वी मस्ट फोकस on the specifics of the issue. Stop talking in general terms.
Thank you, sir. I think most of the principals and the school today have got the answer at last. Next question will be, many parents do not consider online classes as genuine mode of education and therefore rarely cooperate with the teachers who are toiling day and night to conduct these classes. What message would you like to convey to these teachers to motivate them?
First of all, we live in a country where we believe in karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. We have to do our duty. Now, there is a limitation right now. It may not be the best way of teaching, but it is the second best way of teaching, reaching out to children through technology. If parents argue, you ask them, what is the alternative? The tragedy is we are all good at criticizing without giving an alternative. What is the alternative available? Now, having discussed that and having convinced, it should be our endeavor as teachers to create such material that it becomes attractive. Once the parents start witnessing that the child is taking interest and he's learning, they will stop questioning. Again, I'll give you a very personal, I have grandchildren, my granddaughters, they're twin granddaughters. Now, they have their internet classes and religiously their parents make them sit there and the children also enjoy listening to that. I think the job is done. Now, if I don't create sufficiently good material in which the children feels good and the parents also feel good, then of course this will come. And this material today is available. That is the research that the group of teachers will have to do. What material and in what manner, at what time. Timing is also very important. When do you take these internet classes? Do you take it them early in the morning or late in the afternoon? You have to decide. Because in the morning, the parents, everyone busy cooking and meal and everything. So you have to decide on an appropriate time where the child can sit there. So there are many things that the teacher has to look into. I have always believed you should do what you should do and not bothered about the reaction of somebody else. Because you are not trying to offend anybody. You are doing your job. So long as you are satisfied you're doing your job, do it.
Thank you, sir. Next question will be: the students above average have no problem, but a good percentage of students are average and below average, and usually have a problem regarding concentration. During normal schooling, they need to be constantly poked to ensure concentration and understanding. Then how can their concentration, learning and understanding be ensured online?
In fact, online gives you an opportunity to concentrate on children which are below average. In fact, if you can identify them, you can take a separate internet-based class for them. In school, everyone is sitting together. How do you manage it? But here, you can have a general class and then have another 15-minute session, 20 minutes, half an hour session where the child is not picking up. Internet actually allows you to do that. In fact, technology enables you to reach out to such children who are either handicapped or below average. You can actually create a separate stuff for them. Again, research at our end, at teachers' end, to create that material in a manner that a child who's below average can also accept. Technology actually can be a great help instead of hindering.
It is somewhat related to the previous question, like students of grade 1 to 8 are usually in a playful mood and most online sessions are time bound. By the time the class settles, little time is left for quality teaching as most of the time goes in muting, unmuting, and how can these issues be resolved?
That's the challenge. As I keep saying, and I give personal example, I've seen videos that attract me even now at this age. It's a challenge to create such material. And mind you, this material is actually available. What the teachers have to do as a group have to try and look on for such videos, look on for such session. If we do our groundwork, I'm telling you the child will get attracted. It's a question of what we present to them. It's like a halwai. If you don't create the right type of sweets that are required, you say, no, I'll just make sweets. And it's not required by the child, how will he accept it? So the challenge is with the teacher to come up innovatively with such material which is attractive. The good news is a lot of good material is available. You have to look at it on the net and try and download it. I'll give you, pardon me, I'll just sidetrack it a bit and explain to you another experience that I had, which had a phenomenal impact on my working. I had visited a government primary school, which was in a place called Pastepada, 120 kilometers north of Thane district in tribal areas. And I was informed that it does not have electricity, no electricity there. So when I walked into that school, it was a 2-room primary school, I saw that every child had a tablet. I was shocked. So I asked this teacher, Sandeep Gondi, yaar ye tablet ki bijli kahan chalate ho tum? Tumhe bijli to aati nahi hai. So he took me around the school and showed me a foldable solar panel through which he was charging those batteries, and through batteries he was charging these tablets. Then I asked him, tablet ka paisa kahan se aaya tumhare paas ye? 40 tablet hain tumhare paas. He said, sir, when I came to the school, now listen to this carefully. When I came to the school, there were about 40-50 children here. Many did not come to the school. I had a second-hand laptop. So what I used to do was, where I lived, there was some internet available. So I used to download some educational videos. And when I come to the school, I used to play those videos. So these children used to congregate around and learn something from it. After 2 months, 20 parents came to the school. They asked a very funny question of the teacher. They asked him, "Sir, ये पहले तो स्कूल बच्चे स्कूल नहीं जाते थे, अब सुबह सुबह भागते हैं आपके क्लास में, आपने क्या किया?" Then he explained to these parents कि मैं इनको वीडियो दिखाता हूँ और ये इनको मजा आता है देखने में, उससे सीख लेते हैं. Then when this teacher found that these parents are taking interest, ये गरीब लोग थे. He asked them कि आप 500 रुपए देंगे, मैं 2 टैबलेट लाना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि सब बच्चे अलग अलग उम्र के हैं, मैं इनके 3 ग्रुप बनाना चाहता हूँ. So they were poor, but they contributed 500 rupees each. So he bought 2 more tablets and attached them to his laptop, make them into 3 groups. Now this was phenomenal. Now this word spread around. So an NGO, a non-governmental organization, and then another a CSR funding agency, they visited the school. And when they found this passionate teacher and the impact it was happening on children, they decided to fund these 40 tablets. So 40 tablets and a smart screen were brought. In a school which did not have electricity. It was around that time that I visited the school and I was pleasantly shocked at what I saw. So I took a photograph with this teacher called Sandeep Gund. His story is there on Access of Good. I took a photograph and tweeted it. Suddenly he became a local hero. So people around the school or the teachers around the principals around the school, they started visiting the school to find out what he's doing. And they started copying it in their own way. In the meanwhile, I met the President of India in Delhi in some other context. And I narrated this wonderful story to him. He was also very impressed. So I asked him, would you like to meet the teacher, Sandeep Gund? He said, why not? So I called Sandeep Gund over to Delhi. He met the President of India. A photograph was taken. It was tweeted. Sandeep Gund became a national hero. But this is not the end of the story. The Pastepada model today has been replicated in 50,000 government schools of Maharashtra which have gone technology. Why am I telling you that? I am telling you this because it is possible. I am telling you this because people who say that it can't be done, it is a demonstration to them that it can be done. It can be done because it has been done. So what I am trying to say here is a teacher in a non-COVID time, use technology to convince the parents, to teach the children and create a system which was replicable. So you all can also do it.
Thank you, sir. Lot of thanks, because this is you have given the answer to many of the queries which has been for over the years not been answered to our principals and teachers, I suppose. Next question, moving on to the next question. Are online classes suitable for children below 10 years? How can we remain connected with students or kindergarten and from classes 1 to 5 as the students are too young for screen exposure?
No, I would not say it should be done. The question is, given the present set of circumstances, what is the alternative? I'm not saying it's ideal for children below 10 years. But today, since they can't go to school, what is the alternative? This is the alternative. It's not the best way of going about it, but certainly the second best way of going about it. So if the children can be sent to school and they can study in school, that's the best. But since they can't go, we have to, there are few things which are eminently desirable, but there are certain things which are only practicable. Everything that you desire cannot happen because there are set of circumstances in which you work. So my case is not that you push them in front of a screen. My case is, since there's no other alternative available, screen is the next best alternative. Get him in front of the screen.
Thank you, sir. The next question goes like this. How can assessment be conducted online, as it is difficult to ensure fair conduction?
I don't think we should be so bothered about assessment at this point in time. I mean, let's try and improve the learning part. However, there are models available, there are programs available where children can be assessed in a very playful manner. You don't have to necessarily ask them to write an essay, but in a certain way, they can actually use the cursor and tick and get the answers. But I don't think assessment should be a major concern at this point in time. At this point in time, the major concern should be engagement with the child. At this point in time, major concern should be make learning interesting and enjoyable for the child. Main concern is to get the parents also on board. These are concerns. Assessment will come later. I mean, how much? Fortunately, COVID has come at a time when this is a summer time, summer break in any case. So the loss is not that much. So I don't think we should be so obsessed with assessment.
Yes, sir. Next question goes like that. Ensuring 100% attendance on online classes is very difficult, as many parents express reluctance in allowing their children to use mobile phones, how can one ensure education of such students?
Don't ensure anything. I mean, I don't think see, you can't ensure anything. See, how can you ensure this person not using the mic?
Please unmute yourself.
Please mute yourself.
So this is what you got to do. You have to keep requesting. You know, we live in a world where you can't mandate. And don't try and mandate also. You know, I am a great believer in creating a product so that people get attracted to it rather than mandating it. Even in case of parents, I don't think you should mandate the child should come, otherwise we'll take action. No, don't do that. They are already under pressure. You create a product which is so attractive that even teachers sit, even the parents sit and watch what you do. So I have control over myself, so I'll create that model which is attractive enough parents also to sit and do it. If they still don't come, so be it.
आवाज आ रही है बट वो बहुत धीरे बोल रहा है.
नहीं अभी तो पूरी आ रही थी फिर
Please mute yourself. I request whoever it is, please mute yourself. Please. There's a lot of background noise. Kindly mute yourself.
No, may I suggest another thing, Dr. Mishra? May I suggest another thing, Dr. Paramita?
Yes, sir.
Ask them to share what they are discussing with all of us. Why should they do it with you?
Okay.
Request them to say, speak up. Don't mute them. Ask them कि जो आप बात कर रहे हैं, आप हमें क्यों वंचित रख रहे हैं अपनी चर्चा से? आप भी ज्वाइन कीजिए हमारी चर्चा में. बताइए क्या बात कर रहे हैं?
जी सर.
And I assure you they will mute the mics.
जी सर. Thank you, sir. That's a great suggestion.
जो इस तरीके जो करे, जैसे हमें याद है स्कूल में भी.
जी सर.
बहुत होशियार टीचर थे, जो ज्यादा उदंडी बच्चा होता था, उसको कहते थे तुम यहाँ के बताओ ना क्या कर रहे हो, सबको बताओ, सब लाभान्वित होंगे. चुप हो गया. आप उसको मना कीजिएगा तो रिएक्ट करेगा, मना नहीं करेगा. Call him, share that.
Yes, sir.
Next, in case of students of grade 9 to 12, the issue is regarding the adolescent states. Many students remain blocked in but engage themselves in other detrimental sites. It is not possible for the parents, especially if working, to keep a watchful eye on their activities. In such cases, what can the teacher do to ensure the teaching purpose is fulfilled?
You know, this is a huge challenge. It's not merely that, I mean, right through, because through internet, so many other more attractive things are available. So I have to make my material more attractive than what he's saying. And you know, I said it in the beginning. That's the challenge. Can I wean him away from what he's watching now? You can't mandate it. If you mandate it, वो छुप के देखेगा. नहीं, हमें एक alternative paradigm create करना है, alternative narrative create करना है, जो उसको करे. मैं आपको दूसरा example दूं. ये Nexus of Good हमने शुरू क्यों किया? इसलिए शुरू किया कि क्या हम लोगों को अच्छा बात करने में मजा दिला सकते हैं. हर आदमी मजा ढूंढता है ना. जिस दिन उसकी मानसिकता में थोड़ा परिवर्तन आ जाएगा और उसको वो चीज अच्छी लगने लगेगी तो वो करेगा. नाउ दैट चैलेंज इज विद अस. बाय मियरली सेइंग कि आप मत करो, वो नहीं करेगा. अभी जो मैंने आपको उदाहरण दिया, जो मैडम को मैंने कहा, वो इसलिए कहा आप मना मत कीजिए. मना करने से वो रिएक्ट करेगा. आप उससे कहिए शेयर करो. You have to come up with these innovative ways of disciplining people. You can't use the stick now. You have to, you must have seen it yourself. I saw it myself. In some teachers, they never raised their voice. Never. But we were all very disciplined in the class. Why? Because they treated me differently. They knew how to handle such situations. Same is the case here. We have to innovatively come up with such material which is more attractive. Now, it is human tendency to eat masala. To talk negatively, it's human need. You enjoy it. आप और हम भी अच्छी बात करने में मजा नहीं आता, दूसरे की बुराई करने में ज्यादा मजा आता नहीं आता. करते हैं. तो हम क्या अच्छाई को उतना अट्रैक्टिव बना सकते हैं? That's the challenge that we have. That's the challenge that teacher has. Can he prepare material which is attractive? Now, how do we do that? There are many teachers who've done it. We have to learn from them. That's what Nexus of Good is. Learn from good that has happened and try and replicate and scale it. It's challenging. It's not easy. अगर आसान होता हो गया होता अभी तक. But it can be done because it has been done. वो संदीप गुंड ने क्या किया था? भाई पहले तो बच्चे आते ही नहीं थे स्कूल ना. So I'm not saying copy what he's done. There are lessons available. मैं आपसे कह रहा हूं आज ये चर्चा खत्म हो जाएगी. आज इसमें जितने लोगों ने भाग लिया है, अगली आप चर्चा फिर कीजिए. और आपके टीचर और प्रिंसिपल जो अच्छा काम करें अपना प्रेजेंटेशन करें. और फिर देखिए मजा और लोग उससे कितना सीखते हैं. There is so much good that is happening. We don't discuss that. We are only criticizing each other. आप अखबार पढ़िए, 90% क्रिटिसिज्म है. I'm not against criticism. We should criticize some wrong that is happening, but we should try and learn from each other. I'm convinced जो शुरू में आपने ओपनिंग रिमार्क मैडम ने कहा, आपने कहा अपनी संस्था के बारे में बनाया, अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं नहीं कर रहे हैं, उसको शेयर क्यों नहीं करते हम? क्यों नहीं टीचर्स आपके जो आज हैं यहाँ पे प्रिंसिपल्स, वो क्यों नहीं शेयर करें कि कोविड टाइम पे हम क्या कर रहे हैं? I am telling you, lot of you and lot of us will benefit from what's going on. We don't do that.
Exactly, sir.
We have just, Dr. Saab, we have just only 5 minutes because I have another conference or webinar to attend. So
Okay, sir.
it would be great
Then we have to.
conclude by 6:30.
Okay. So we have a limited time. So what a big lacuna in writing practice and corrections. Our educational system has notebooks, assignments and corrections by the teachers. This practice is disturbed during this period of lockdown and online teaching. So teachers are teaching, but writing practice of students is not getting effectively carried out. How can this crisis be resolved? Students are not taking assignments seriously.
You know, we have to, again, as I keep saying, we have to create value around handwriting. How do you create that value? Again, I'm experimenting that with my grandchildren. They are not living with me, they live at a distance somewhere. So I ask them to write and appreciate a lot of the writing work they're doing. Appreciation can be the biggest motivator. Can be used as a tool for enabling or inducing child to start writing. The child has to understand the value of handwriting. If he or she understands that, they will write. If they don't understand the value, they will not write. Yours, my saying will not help. So how do I induce? And this is a management principle applicable throughout your life. How do you induce a person to do what you and I want to do? By telling him, not merely telling him, by impressing upon him somehow that what I am telling him is value to him. So you show writings of, great personalities who wrote in their own handwriting. Show to them. Everyone aspires to become great. It's a question. You have to come up with innovative ways in inducing the child to do what you want him to do.
So one question is,
Dr. Saab, I have indicated my email ID on the chat box. I know the time is short, we're running out of time. I would welcome your questions or queries or anything on that email ID. You can write to me. I normally try and respond to them. Dr. Chaudhary will bear me out. I respond to the mails that come to me. It's available there. And as we are coming to conclusion, I would also request Dr. Chaudhary that when the book launch happens, I will send him messages. My request is please convey to each of the participants today so that they're aware, and then if they so want, they can join.
Certainly, sir. Just one last one message from your side to our teaching fraternity. Hello.
We are going through difficult times, very, very difficult times. On you and on your shoulders rests the responsibility of keeping hope alive amongst parents, among children, amongst your own fraternity. We cannot lose hope. We can afford to lose hope. We cannot afford to lose hope. We have to do it. And it's your responsibility first to feel optimistic yourself and then convey this optimism to the children, to the parents, on all around you. On you rests the responsibility. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this one. And one last, sir, are you there? Yeah, please.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Sir, one question. We often find that upcoming generation is not interested in teaching profession. How can we promote teaching as a profession by choice and not by choice? A message from your side, because we want some passionate teachers, sir.
Okay. So what has happened is right now the structure of preschool training or pre-teaching training is such that they use it as the last option. But fortunately, the government has now taken a decision that there will be a 4-year B.Ed and D.El.Ed course. So after class 12, the person will have to take a call whether he wants to take a teacher profession. He cannot do BA and MA and then decide, since he's not getting elsewhere, he wants to become a teacher. So that's a big move in terms of inducing people to choose teaching as a profession upfront. Earlier, he took it as a last choice. Of course, there are many other social considerations. The respect that we had for the teacher, I think we don't respect our teachers sufficiently, but we can't tell anybody. I think the charity has to begin at home. We have to start respecting the teacher. Once that happens, more and more people will join the teaching profession.
Thank you, sir. Because time is very limited, you have to go for another session. Just a message from your side, because our team, sir, I just tell you, it's working from Mumbai, from there's Amita Bhatt ma'am, then is some from Hisar, Then Paromita ma'am is sitting from in Rohtak. One person is sitting in Kolkata, sir. This Ms. Sujit Kumar Jana, Bani madam. Sir, 15 members, 15 to 16 members are working day and night. One Chetan Mahe sir from Kanpur, sir. So one message for us, sir. They have worked day and night for this session today to make it a successful event, sir. Thank you. Because yesterday only we had a storm in Mumbai, but Amita ma'am has taken this challenge today, sir. You won't believe. Amita ma'am, just give your this one, show yourself and say namaskar to sir. You have really taken this challenge
sir, please
in this storm.
accept my namaste, namaste India, namaste everyone, and sir, we delighted that you are here on IUS platform. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Amita from team, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I take this opportunity to compliment you. It's a very wonderfully organized program. I'm every day. One
Thank
of the
you so
finest
much,
ones.
sir.
Interaction was very fruitful, and I see on the chat very, very participative audience. God bless all of you, and please do remain in touch. I have given my email ID. All the best. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Namaskar, sir, for blessings.
Namaskar. God bless you.
नमस्कार साहब नमस्कार